Todd Gitlin and the team at Sapphire are sponsoring once again. They are the top recruiting firm in Southern California, but I swear they are worth getting to know even before you have hiring needs. They'll help you think through your hiring plans, and they have so much perspective to share on the LA startup ecosystem. Todd seriously knows everyone and everything, so worth getting to know him if you don't already.
Hello and welcome to the LA Venture Podcast. We're David Waxman and Minnie Ingersoll, partners and investors at TenOneTen.
Today I'm Zooming with Jesse Draper from Halogen Ventures. Halogen is an early stage venture fund here in LA, investing in consumer technology companies led by women. Halogen has made over 50 investments in companies like the Skimm, Carbon 38, Flex, Hop, Skip, Drive. And Jesse is also a fourth generation venture capitalist, which is incredible. Who can say that? It's awesome. So Jesse, where are you? Where you hold up right now? And does this situation change your investing at all?
Oh yes. First of all, I am holed up in Los Angeles, probably like you, and I feel like just every day I feel like a crazier person. Like this is one of those things you kind of dream about that you never think is going to actually happen, and just the things I'm telling my kids right now, where I'm like, we're going to go for a walk around the block, but you can't touch anyone. So if you see your friends, don't hug them. We can't play with them. And I'm like, I messed up my kids for life already. Like they're just going to be these crazy germaphobes. I mean, what a weird world right now. But yes, what was your second question?
Well, it was more about investing. And you're in fund 2 right now, right?
We are working out of fund 2, yes. And yes, of course I had to change my investment strategy. I also just felt super depressed about the whole thing, where I was like, oh my God, so many people are going to lose their jobs. This is week 1. We already have companies laying off anywhere from 1 to 60 people. And the thing that's really brought me out of this funk is I now have seen companies transform their entire businesses, put businesses that were not online in a matter of days, launch new product lines. And like, you realize you bet on these entrepreneurs for a reason. And that has been the most inspiring thing I've ever experienced.
Yeah, I love that. I agree with you. You're betting on these teams and you don't know, you can't foresee these pandemics. How about like investing? I'll just say like, I found it really hard to continue investing without meeting people face to face.
Yeah. I mean, we very quickly pressed pause on all new investments because we wanted to, have one-on-ones with all 60 plus of our companies just to be like, hey, how's it going? And I mean, to be completely frank, our whole strategy, our investment criteria, everything ended up coming down to 3 things. And it was like, do I believe in this founder? Can they execute? Do they have enough runway to get through the next year? And are they COVID sustainable? Because it's no longer like, are they recession proof? It's like, it's a whole different, like everything is different now. Companies that were recession proof, that have the government as a customer, or like drive kids to school, like those,
right?
People aren't going to school.
Right.
That's supposed to be a recession-proof business, And so that's been fascinating to watch, and just so like we had to flip it on its head, and we're really focused on our current portfolio, and we've just pressed pause. And I feel it's like excruciating to do that because as well as I do, we were in the middle of leading 3 deals, and I just said, hey guys, I'm so sorry. And it's very different to all of a sudden be working out of your homes as well.
Oh, it's horrible. I have so much quality family time. Do you find that there's certain advice that you're giving a lot?
Oh, I love this question. And I also feel like you always want to be friendly with your founders. I've done my best to be friendly, and, but sometimes like when you sit on the board, or you have a closer relationship with that company because you have a larger check in it, or whatever it is, you really are in charge of showing them the mirror and saying, hey, like, here's what's really happening. And so we did a Zoom call with like all 60 of our companies. And I'm usually like on the air of, it's going to be great. Like, you guys will get through it. And I was like, you know what? I actually need to kind of terrify them right now. And so, yeah, I feel like I'm over and over. I'm saying, you will not get outside investment, period. And they're like, oh, but we had these great conversations going on. And I'm like, call me next week and tell me if they're still going on. And then they're like, you're right. They pulled out. I'm like, yeah, the only luck you're going to have is probably raising internal rounds. And I just want you to be realistic about that. There's a few founders who are like, we're going to be fine. It's just the next couple months. I'm like, so actually we're recommending 12 to 24 months of runway as our most venture capitalists in this industry. And then I love the founders that are coming to me saying, but Jessie, we're still going to hit our numbers. Like, our numbers are going to be great. And I'm like, no one gives, like, no one cares about your numbers. I don't know if I can swear on this podcast. No one cares about your numbers right now. It's literally about survival. So you just survive right now through the new year and you will be doing fine. I feel so grateful that we are in direct to consumer, because this is just the moment where retail is transitioning to direct to consumer. Like, all of the traditional retailers, we all knew this moment was going to happen, but all the traditional retailers are pulling their orders and like they're figuring out what to do. And so if you are in a direct to consumer business, like, you're very, very lucky right now because people are living in their homes.
So actually tell me a little bit about what you invest in. Good question to get to.
Yeah.
Point. I mean, because I know it's consumer tech, but I don't know where you draw the line.
Yeah. So we invest in a couple different categories, but we, so I say direct to consumer. There has to be a female in the founding team of 5. We don't define that by any type of equity. I want to make sure there's a female in the leadership position. We have about 60 plus portfolio companies. We have 3 male CEOs, which I like to highlight because people seem to think you hate men when you invest in women. And I'm like, no, we actually really like men. We just want to make sure there's women in leadership positions. And so when I say direct to consumer, to me, that's something touching the consumer. So we have everything from social media to, actual physical CPG type products to, and a couple of the verticals we invest heavily in are fashion, transportation. We do some work from home products that would probably fall under more where you invest in terms of like B2B data analytics. We try to also invest in companies that facilitate the consumer experience in some way, because we have all of these incredible products. And so we're betting on like how consumers behave in the future. And so, yeah, you mentioned a few of our companies in the beginning, Carbon 38, the Skimm, we're investors in a company called Squad that's doing great right now. It's like a new social media app that is sort of like if Snapchat and Zoom had a baby and teenagers are just sitting at home playing on it.
And so, Jessie, do you have, when you're betting on how consumers behave in the future, do you have some ideas yourself going into this? Like, do you have some big trends that you think are like the really exciting things, how we're all going to behave in the future?
Yeah, I mean, we have a company called Shipsy, for example, that we invested in that solves same-day delivery. You may know her, for everyone who's not Amazon. And like, obviously people are just like clawing her door down right now. Every small business in America is like, wait, so you talked to us and we were thinking about it, but now we'd like to go. We're ready.
Yeah.
Like, we would like to deliver.
So if we are all working from home and getting everything delivered and we schedule our Uber pickup, and it feels like we're never going to just hang out in the town square anymore.
I have thought a lot about that. And I always think like food is always going to be where we gather, which is why I think you're seeing more things sold on shelves when you walk into restaurants and things like that, so that's where we'll always gather because people come together for food and beverage. But yeah, we'll see how. For years, I've believed in kind of the pop-up shop model in general, because it is such a cost for a startup to launch a store.
Are you leading these rounds?
We do lead rounds. Sometimes we're like the first institutional money in. We write $250,000 to $1 million checks and for initial investment, and then we follow on as well for about a third of our companies.
And what makes it really exciting? Like, I think I listened to you. Oh my gosh, I listened to you, the funniest podcast I've ever heard. I swear, you on your brother's podcast.
Oh no. We need to redo that. I don't know. We were just like fighting or something. I don't even remember it. I need to listen to it, but I know a couple of people have brought this up to me and I'm like, it was probably like a brother-sister war the whole time.
No, it was good. It made me like you both a lot. I was like, oh, I really like them after that. That was good sibling dynamic. But where was I going with this? I actually don't remember where I started that conversation. Maybe I'll just ask a little bit about your background because we haven't really covered that. So tell me like about yourself and the team here. So, I mean, fourth generation venture capitalists, like super interested in how your upbringing, your father is a legend in investing, how that influenced you.
Yeah, I mean, our family is really close and still is very close. We currently have 4 funds amongst our family. My dad has a fund, my brother Adam has a fund, my brother Billy has a fund, I have a fund, and that's just our biological family. And then my grandfather does social enterprise. He's still working and, in his 90s. Just our family is really close. It's, I think growing up, I was definitely exposed to many incredible startups and founders. And that was really this world I knew very well through my dad. And he was so generous with his time. And he would like bring me to conferences and I would see him speak and all these other people speak. And so I do feel like I've been in this business for a very long time. That said, I then went to UCLA for college and I felt like, but there weren't any women in this business. So like, what do I do? And as a young girl growing up, my mom took care of 4 children, which is like the hardest job in the world. And I appreciate it 10 times more right now. And I don't know how she did that. I'm like, I literally, I went into this family situation being like, I want to have like 4 kids and I have 2. And I'm like, I'm done. But my aunt was an actress and she was a very successful actress in the 80s. Her name was Draper. And so as a young girl, I was like, oh, that's what women do. And so I always sort of idolized her and was like, oh, okay, I'm going to get a traditional job as a woman. But it's true. Like you want to be what you can see, as they say. And so I went into acting. I was on a Nickelodeon show. I did a bunch of movies and I quickly realized that like my time could be much better spent. I would like go to these cattle calls and everyone would look just like me and were probably just as talented, usually more. And so I would be on this Nickelodeon show for 6 months at a time. And then I'd have a 6-month hiatus where I'd go audition. And so I started this tech talk show out of my parents' garage. It was called The Valley Girl Show.
It's hilarious. Let me just say, it's hilarious. I got sucked into the black hole of watching your show last night.
It's so excruciating. I haven't watched old episodes for maybe 10 years.
Oh no, Jesse, I made a fabulous cup for you. Like you gotta understand. I was like, oh, I'm gonna make a fabulous cup. I get to like interview Jesse.
Oh, please.
There is one sitting over here.
Oh, good. I cannot wait. Oh my God, the fab cup. We used to call it the fluff cup. And then we found out that was a porn term. And so everyone was like, no. We're not calling it the fluff cup. We can't call it the fluff cup. And I'm like, oh, sorry, I didn't know that. So it quickly transformed into the fab cup. But and for those of you out there who are listening, it was it's just like a fun game we played on our show called the Fab Cup, not the Fluff Cup, to be clear. But it was called the Valley Girl Show. I had no idea what I was doing, but I had my brothers help me film the first episode, and we got incredible guests from Silicon Valley that now you would know well. It was like, first season I had like Eric Schmidt, who at the time was the CEO of Google. And I know we were the first tech talk show because no one cared. No one cared that I had Eric Schmidt on my show. They're like, yeah, whatever. I'm like, no, like he founded Google. This, like, it was so early days. It was like 08, 07, 08.
But you did it for a long time.
I did. And then we took it. I worked with everyone from like Forbes and Mashable. It was like early days of digital distribution, took it to TV. We were nominated for an Emmy. And so through that though, also media is just the Wild West. I mean, I have so many it's just still very broken. We're seeing a lot transform right now, which is interesting, but having been in now every element of media, it's just it's just broken. Like we were barely breaking even on the show. I ended up getting blackmailed by my producer. It was just like a crazy time. And so I decided, through the show, I had made this initiative to interview 50% women in tech. And they came, I was one of the first people to interview Sheryl Sandberg before her book came out. And that changed my life like dramatically. I want to say in every single interview I ever have, because like her coming on my show made it okay for women in tech in general to come on my show. And I'm forever grateful to her. But so through that, women came and I'd say, sometimes you're a little too early for the show. Love what you're doing. Can I write you a pennies check? And I didn't have a lot of money at the time. I mean, I was writing like $1,000 to $5,000 checks, whatever I could afford. Sometimes I'd like negotiate sweat equity and be like, I'll be an advisor. I'll get you media exposure. And some of those deals ended up doing really well for me. One I sold on the secondary market for a 25x return in less than 18 months. One was Carbon 38. Like one was, so like they've done great. So I used that to raise Fund 1. And now, as you mentioned, we're on Fund 2.
So many questions about it. It's really, your episodes are really amazing. Do you think there's certain guests that you got that sort of the public perceives incorrectly right now?
It's interesting. I've been thinking about the show so much recently because I started it in 07, 08. And as a venture investor, I have been studying those companies and like how they came out of it. And I had like Drew from Dropbox on my show, and it ended up on the cover of the New York Times style section. And then they went public, and I had like Eventbrite on, and they went public. And it was like, I found these companies so early, like they just started. And so I've been thinking a lot about that. And obviously things change. I mean, in terms of commenting on how they're perceived by, I think there's always, this is like such a political answer. I think there's always 10 to 100 sides to every story. It's like, if you were in their position, I bet you would see things differently too.
Do you find that you got some really interesting answers, or like you learned something about some of your guests?
Yeah. I mean, I always tried to find new things about them. So like I broke the news that Sheryl Sandberg had formerly been an 80s aerobics instructor. And then I was like quoted like, yeah, or I mean, I guess so. We were quoted like 3 times in the Wall Street Journal, which I still think is just hilarious. It was like, according to the Valley Girl show, Sheryl Sandberg used to, but so I would dig and dig and dig, because otherwise every interview is the same. And then you interview the people from like CEOs of corporations and things, and they would be much more teeth pulling interviews, because they're very, I would call it like PR-ified. And so I'd be like, how do I get them out of their box? Like, what could I? And so then I would throw these crazy questions out. I'd be like, do you like horses? They're like, why are you asking me if I like horses? Like, I don't know. I don't ride horses. I'm like, no, I'm not asking if you ride horses. And then they would sometimes roll with it.
I tried. I asked Ashley. I was like, give me some dirt on Jessie. She did. She was good. She was like, well, we just went on we had like a management retreat or something, a team outing, and we all had to have words for each other. And she said, I think your words were colorful and fearless were 2 words that she gave me. Yeah.
Oh.
And that was where I was going with like, how do you become, number one, how did you become fearless? Like, how do you help people become fearless?
I think you just can't that's something, I think my dad definitely has inspired me to be like, he has no problem being the opposing view to anything. And you're never going to be everyone's favorite person. I'm sure like any female, especially like you go through, you're like me. Like everyone wants to be liked, And I think at a certain point, you just have to realize like, not everyone's going to like you. And that is okay, because you don't need to be friends with everyone. Be the best person you can be. But I try really hard not to sweat the small stuff. And also I think being in the media, I had like the worst, oh my God, like today's media is like, yay, women, empowering women. I was trying to do that in like 07, 08. And so was Sheryl Sandberg. And I was trying so hard, and I was screaming for these like role models, and women did not want to support other women at they were horrible to me, horrible. And I mean, I was like in my 20s wearing little pink dresses to like, business conferences. I was like one of like 3 women in the room. And I'm sure like I look back and I'm like, I get it. Like maybe they just didn't like me because I was like screaming for attention somehow. But I think I went through so much in the media that no media really affects me now. So like Valleywag would write these horrible articles about me without having interviewed me. And then like 7 years later, when I actually was relaunching the show, they wrote the same article. I was so excited to like get new press and like, it's like a rebrand. And you're saying, did you learn through all these questions and shows you did? Like, yeah, I was ready to relaunch the show. And then Valleywag basically like reposted the old article that they'd written from 7 years ago without doing any research or realizing like we were now on a network. And, it was like, they were horrible to me. And so I got so much bad press from that show in the beginning that I was just like, I don't care anymore. You guys are just mean. Like, whatever.
Well, I'm sorry to hear it first off. But I also kind of think like when you say you don't
it made me so much stronger.
That's
like,
right.
Yeah.
That's
and
right.
like one day I'm going to bump into the Valleywag guy. I mean, he's hiding from the world, I'm actually really good friends with, actually, he's going to be so mad I'm going to talk about this, but I'm really good friends with Brian Goldberg from Bustle. And they tore him apart too. And he was so excited. He just bought them. And he's like, the moment he bought them, he's like, I bought Gawker. I'm like, yes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but that's kind of my advice for people when they are fearful and like this, and they are sweating the small stuff, is like, go get beat up some more. And like, you can go get beat up in big ways. And then the small stuff doesn't seem all that important or something.
Right.
Good for you.
Yeah. But also like you grow and like all those experiences are so positive. Like when I look back and I'm like, yeah, maybe I needed like a big, like hit to the ego. I was so clueless. Like I had no idea, you look back and it's like, that made me stronger. I've learned so much. I've learned how to run multiple businesses. Like, like you've probably learned so much, in that amount of time too. Like everybody has.
Yeah. Well, I think also kind of bringing it back to business here, but like, especially women, I think need some of these fearlessness lessons. And so, I was fascinated by your business because you work with all women a lot of the time, right? Like, I was like, gosh, that's kind of daunting to me. I've always been in the tech world. It's full of men. I'm used to it.
Yeah.
Tell me some about this focus on women. Do you think you give different advice to women?
Yeah, in terms of women, I mean, yes, I definitely give different advice to women because we'll have, we do these demo days and or pitch days. They're like cold pitches every 2 weeks. We have like 10, 15 companies come in and usually it's women. We have a few men come in and pitch, but they come in, they pitch. And so you really do have, like, we have some good case studies on like repetitive behavior of these women. And, we saw like 5,000 deals last year. I'm not saying I like had every single one come in, but we see a lot of women pitch and they're all missing. It's like, they try to convince you more often than not, they try to convince you why not to invest as opposed to why to invest. And I now am so upfront. I just say to them like, hey, I love this company. Your numbers are like out of control. Like you're doing so much better than all of your competitors. And for some reason, you've told me all the reasons I should not invest instead of why I should. So like, go figure out that confidence thing and come back to me. But that said, women have so many positives, like in this world of non-profitable public companies, people ask us about our portfolio and I'm like, oh, that's not an issue. Like our companies are profitable or like they will be profitable in a matter of months. They have it all mapped out. And, we have a company that raised $1.2 million in the first year and a half was doing 20 million and like may never have to raise again. So our companies are more profitable. I think also male versus female ego. And I'm definitely not the smartest person in the room. I'm sure, everyone listening is smarter than me in some way. And I think women think that way. And I think that's a really positive thing to be able to hear lots of feedback and really put it together in a thoughtful way. But yeah, we're more reasonable. We like tune in. We have the EQ thing going on.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So, gosh, men. Hi. Anyways,
but I love men. And I have
do.
2 little boys, so I really love men.
What is good traction though? I mean, just so women know, like if they're coming to you and they're doing $10,000 a month, is that good traction, or what do you guys? I know it totally varies.
We say, some kind of traction. Like it depends. Yeah, it depends what the industry, but like some examples I would give is like $1 million in revenue. If you are pre-product, like show me some proof that like there is a need. 100,000 users or even like 50,000 users.
Got it. Great. Anything else on Halogen? I'm just kind of pausing, thinking. I do have a fabulous cup. A fab cup, right?
Oh, let's do it. I'm so excited.
Okay. You ready for the fab cup?
Okay. I am ready for the fab cup.
I actually didn't get it in a cup because I had to go downstairs and disturb my kids. Okay. So you're just going to have to trust me. Number 1, Jessie Draper, stilettos.
Oh my God. I'm 6 foot tall and I wear 6-inch heels, and I used to get, it's supposed to be quick. See, I'm even bad at this game. People used to give me a hard time about being too tall a talk show host. And I'm like, Conan's tall and he's still taller than me when I wear heels.
Okay, great. Thank you. Next up, these are supposed to be fast, Jessie. It's your game. Horrible. This one says mentorship.
So important. If you don't have mentors, go find them. Sometimes they look like friends.
That's good. That was fast. This one says the Drapers.
Wild, crazy, kooky performers.
Interesting. Like, what was a dinner time conversation?
It's all business or it's a performance. Or an art project.
Oh, that's good.
We do a lot of talent shows. We have our annual art contest where we have a legit gallery show where we've all drawn some sort of picture or sculpture of my grandfather, and it happens on his birthday. So I have like 30 years of grandfather art under my belt.
That's awesome. We all draw pictures of my mother's stove, which is weird, but true.
That's awesome. Yeah. I wish I had like a new muse, to be honest, because I'm like, there's not a whole lot more I can do.
Oh, I'll give you ideas. He can be a Christmas tree ornament. He can be so many things. Gingerbread houses of your grandfather.
Yes.
Okay.
Totally. Love it.
Okay. Next up, feminism.
We need men involved.
Agreed. And I think they're getting there. This one has something on both sides of the paper. We're going with what I read first. Sand Hill Road. This is the last one.
I grew up around there and I still don't understand why it's like been so Hollywoodized, because it was a pretty quiet place and still is.
Interesting. But when you're there, you think you're the center of the universe.
I did not think that. It was really boring. We would go ice cubing on the weekends. Like, if you don't know what that is, it's because you've never been that bored.
And what about LA? How do you like LA?
I love LA. I've been here for about 15 years and I love the Bay Area. I mean, it was such a great place to grow up, but I like that there's always something new. Like, I know every corner in Menlo Park, you know?
Yeah. But LA tech scene, it feels sort of happier to me.
Yes, it has a balance. We work just as hard, but like there is a balance too. I mean, you can go to the beach for a meeting.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's growing, which is fun. It's fun to meet all the other VCs in LA. Anything else I missed about Halogen that's really important? You'll probably be, back in business in a little bit and going back to investing in women.
Yes, we are. We're just sort of getting through this moment. And we probably still will through this, but I'd say just if you guys need to, cut your coffee addiction, you should go buy some tea drops, direct to consumer tea company. You drop it in water, it's bagless tea, and it'll mix up your coffee habits.
Great. And I can order it online, I'm sure.
Shameless plug. Yes.
I love it. No, that's great. I've seen them. I know the tea drops. Great. I was trying to research last night and I ended up buying, I was at Carbon 38. I was like, what is Carbon 38? Yeah. I bought some like snake print leggings.
Yes. Those are so cute. Which ones did you get?
They're white with snake.
With the gold snake print.
Oh yeah.
My God, I'm obsessed. Those are so great. Yeah, if you guys need some leggings while you're hanging at home, hit up Carbon.
Totally. Okay, great. I think this was all my questions then. I think we got it.
Thank you. I don't even know where I went on this interview.